Shelby, you like all these parts? You excited? You excited for all these car parts? All right, so we got a fun project in the shop today. We've got Adam's 2020 Explorer ST in here to get a bunch of parts installed. You can see over here. The boys are already under there working. They got the stock exhaust pulled off. We've got a bunch of parts. Probably most notably, we've got some parts from FENFAB. It's actually our friend Brett. He's a big fabricator of parts for this platform. So we've got the FENFAB charge pipe and air intake kit. You can see all these nice black powder coated pipes. We've also got his ECU cover right there. We've got the diff brace right here that he sells, and then a manual blow-off valve conversion right there. And then these super nice downpipes here that he makes. So these are catted downpipes. So we're gonna get those on there. And then I think that's all we've got from FENFAB, right, Adam?
Yep, that should be it.
So what else do we have from the other manufacturers, Adam?
So we have Thermal's latest product, which is the 3-inch exhaust. And then we have the lethal launch controller over there. And then we have the FENFABrication from Mount Intercooler.
So this thing, it will essentially get full intake, full exhaust, and then you already have a tune on it, right?
93 ZFG tune.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when we're all done, you'll contact ZFG and get a retune.
Yep, so we got to do some logging afterwards and then send it back in for a revision.
Okay, good deal. Well, let's start getting these parts on here. All right, so you can see here what it looks like at the end of the stock downpipes with the factory exhaust removed. So you actually do get instructions with all the FENFAB stuff, but we're going to try to do this without instructions. And if we have issues, we're just going to call Brett. But we talked to Brett and Dave over at FENFAB. Apparently, you can just loosen the subframe bolts without taking them out completely, and that'll give you enough space. And then I think we're going to have to take this transmission cross member out completely and just kind of nose the back of the transmission down. So Brent's in there right now.
Attempting to get the downpipe loose. I'm probably gonna need a pipe on this wrench.
Okay.
Oh, maybe not.
I mean, Dave warned us that we're going to need plenty of extensions and wobble extensions as well.
I have a swivel on the socket, a straight extension, a wobble extension, another straight extension. Yeah, it's like Legos in here to get it loose.
And these are actually, these bolts are E-Torx. You can get them with 6-point sockets if you wanted to, but
I wouldn't recommend it.
we've got some E-Torx sockets that we're using in here. So the other tip that Dave from FENFAB was telling us, I asked Dave this morning, I said, you know, do you think we need anything special to get the O2 sensors out of the stock downpipes as we're taking them out? And Dave said the easiest way actually is to just leave the O2 sensors in the downpipes, unplug the O2 sensors, take the downpipes and O2 sensors out as an assembly, and then swap the O2 sensors over to the new downpipes once it's all apart. So that's what we're going to try. Yep. A little bit. Yep. A little bit. Okay. All right, so you can see here we've got our transmission cross member bolts on either side completely removed, and we're just supporting that. It's there's actually not that much weight on this, to be honest. And then we completely removed the two 18 millimeter subframe bolts in the very back of the subframe on either side. And then if you come up here, there's a subframe bolt on either side up there. That's 24 millimeters. And then there are these subframe bolts here that are 24 millimeters. And you shouldn't have to take them all the way out. You should just be able to loosen them enough to drop the subframe down. So now that we've done that, we are seeing if we've got enough room to get to
You want to try that other one first, Ken?
this bolt on the right side here.
A wobble extension size.
7 million extensions.
Is it off?
It might be. There's a guide on the end of that stud, so you'll have to get up in there with your fingers and pull the rest.
Okay. Let me see if I can. Yeah, we're good. Okay, here we go.
Right. Actually, two sensor connector or wire. Use a Butte, Clark.
So here's the setup that we use to actually get this left side downpipe out. It's a E24 eTorx socket, a 1/2 inch universal, then a wobble extension. You just need plenty of extensions. And honestly, Dave over at FENFAB said you could probably use a 6-point socket on this as well if you don't have an eTorx. Probably would be easier using 3/8 drive just for space reasons, but this worked just fine for us, and that's what it looks like with the downpipe removed.
All right. You have to watch this O2 sensor connector. It's on top of the transmission, and there's a clip that holds it to the transmission wire harness also.
All right, so we got both downpipes out. You can see the right-hand side, passenger side one. With it removed, you can see why we had to drop the subframe. This right-hand side bolt doesn't clear this heat shielding. You can't really get a socket on there until you drop it down, maybe like an inch or so. So the right-hand stud on the right-hand side is by far the hardest one.
Nice.
So we got our O2 sensor swapped over to the new downpipes. Brent and Trav are working on the left side right now. I did want to mention one thing on the right-hand side bolt. On this side, we didn't like the way it felt when the bolt was coming out, so we did run a thread chaser over this bolt and run a tap through the nut. It is a 10 millimeter bolt by 1.5 threads, if that's helpful to anyone. All right, so Brent, you're going in with the right side. So now with these kind of smaller diameter cats on here, so you can get your hand right up there.
It's so much easier.
Okay.
Some nice welds too.
So way easier going in with the new downpipes than taking the old ones out. So one thing to note here on the new downpipes is that this hole in the bracket is not threaded. On the old downpipe, it's a threaded hole. So if you want to reuse the factory hardware for this little transmission brace, you'll have to find yourself an M8 nut to go on top of there since it's not threaded. Or, you know, if you want to just throw a 3/8 bolt and nut on there or something, that would work too. But those are not included with the kit for this for these downpipes. So we've got this left side, driver side downpipe in place, and just one thing to note, this downstream O2 sensor has a clip. You can kind of see, let's see, you can see the clip on this. It used to go and get inserted into the frame right here in this hole. It doesn't reach anymore with the new downpipe. It's not quite long enough, so we've just taken and put a zip tie on and tied it to another piece of wiring harness so it doesn't go anywhere. So here's both downpipes in place right now. Hey Trav, what size socket did you end up using on the
17,
eTorques?
17 deep, 6 point.
So 17 deep 6-point works kind of better just for space reasons than the eTorque socket that we were using before. So Brent's just tying up the O2 sensor harness on this side, and then we're gonna get this kind of drivetrain jacked back up and bolted back together and start the rest of it. Adam's retorquing the subframe bolts to 195 foot-pounds.
You gonna pull on it a little bit?
Punch me in the face.
This is a two-man job.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna snap that.
Yeah, hold on.
It's tight. Okay.
I did not actually think it'd be that hard.
Does this tool go high enough for 195?
Yes, it does. Cool. Well, can't say it's accurate, but. Okay.
Click. I heard it. You guys hear it?
So
It's pretty tight.
we're just gonna put the impact on it like we should have. All right, so this is why we film YouTube videos, so we can show you all our mistakes here. So you saw us loosen these two bolts up front here. Those bolts are actually just for the steering rack. So the bolts in the front that you actually want to loosen are up here by the front attachment of the lower control arm on either side. Now we managed to do this, you can see it up there. We managed to do this without even loosening those bolts, just by loosening these rear subframe bolts, the 24 and the 18 under there. It dropped down enough for us to get the downpipes out, but don't loosen these like we did. Loosen the ones up there. Okay, we got everything torqued now. We managed to get the subframe bolts torqued to 195 off camera. The rack bolts that we weren't supposed to loosen, but we loosened anyway, we torqued those back to 184 foot-pounds, and now we're ready to get this, who makes the exhaust again?
Thermal.
Thermal. Get this thermal exhaust fitted up.
No, one more.
You're about even on the pipes.
That looks right to me.
Oh, that looks good. Right in the
Bring
center.
it backwards.
Sure, these weren't supposed to be the clamps?
That's the
Band clamps?
Those small ones.
Oh, you're right. There's different
There's a
sizes.
diameter difference too, yeah.
Yeah.
Push it.
Our videos are safe for kids.
I promise you. Okay.
Calm down.
You want to loosen them? No, no.
So they're gonna just sandwich.
Oh, is that how that works? Okay.
Should be.
I've never installed an actual like reputable performance exhaust before, so never dealt with this high quality stuff.
So these pipes on this exhaust don't slip together. They butt up against each other, and we use these large sleeve style clamps. So in order to make sure that we know that we're getting the clamp centered over the connection, just using a Sharpie and eyeballing a clamp next to the connection and marking just outside either edge of the clamp. That way when the clamp goes on, we know that we've got it centered over the joint.
Good deal.
Rear hangers are a little strange. Not your typical slip together. It's a cast piece. When you took the factory exhaust out, you would have had to unbolt these to pull the whole thing rearward to get the forward hangers out. So probably easier to fit them onto the muffler and then screw it back into the subframe. Here, you want me to?
Oh, how are you gonna get that? Okay, I thought it was.
It's just gotta get.
We gotta hand wrap it.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
Brent Fitness.
Open stuff up now that we're getting closer to being where we want to be. Push that in all the way.
This is a nice exhaust.
Still loose.
Now you're bending the top.
Getting tighter. Just trying to keep everything from being so sloppy loose.
That one's not.
Yeah, you want to push the muffler forward, Adam?
Push it forward.
Forward, because I want to make sure that there's not a
That
gap.
way?
Toward me.
Yeah.
I want to make sure there isn't a gap here. Which there shouldn't be.
Well,
Yep, we're good. It's hard to tell if the pipes are, butted up against each other or not. Even with the lines I put on.
Mr. Coffee.
Hey, big time.
Tight?
Yeah, it's just they're just loosely tight, enough to keep them from moving. That one should be tight already, Trav.
Not bad. How you doing? Good. Looks better.
Looking good. Nice and shiny.
Put it on there.
It's never coming off.
Doesn't even need a clamp.
You still might need a little more clamping, Brent.
Yeah, because it's not even like in the slot. It's still like on this one. It's not even down.
All right, so here is how the exhaust turned out. It's all tightened up now. It was actually pretty easy to get these tips lined up and get everything squared up. And if anybody else is using this exhaust with the FENFAB downpipes, it fits perfectly. We had no issues whatsoever with the downpipe to exhaust fitment. All right, so we're getting ready to install the diff brace from FENFAB here. You can see you've got a rubber isolator that goes between the brace and the subframe. You'll see how that goes. And then you've got these two spacers that go between the brace and the diff. So Brent, let's get this just bolted up to the diff. You can see the two diff bolts, diff cover bolts that we've removed so far. What we're going to do is bolt this bracket up with the spacers in there, and that'll show us where on the subframe we need to drill our holes. We'll kind of use this as a jig to mark our holes. So now you can see our marks on the subframe. So we'll go ahead and drill those out to 3/8. So we've got it bolted up there now. And Brent's just marking the rubber isolator so we can drill some holes in that too.
Right through your leg. Right through your leg. I'm gonna put this in the vise.
You can do it on the ground if you want.
That's true.
I'm not worried about the concrete.
Well, I don't want to put you on a little bit into the concrete.
The other nut too. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, the fun part here is going to be fishing the nuts in through the access holes in the subframe here. Fortunately, the rubber insulator helps us out with that, since it's going to hold these bolts in place for us. So they'll stay. I just got to wrestle this up here a little bit so that I can
Okay.
try and feed these. Small hands will help. This is most going to be the trickiest part of this.
So we got both nuts started on top there. It's a little hard because when you drill through the subframe, you might create a burr on the top side of the subframe and kind of prevents you from sliding the nut on. But we got them both started. We're gonna try to tighten them without holding them from the top. But since the nut's serrated, hopefully they'll just kind of bite and we can tighten them.
I don't want to hammer on it either, though.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think
know.
it
I don't
really
know
needs
how
to be
much
that
that. I don't know how much that rubber is going to compress, but
Yeah, these were not very tight originally. Torque spec.
yeah.
Torque spec is don't take it apart.
Yeah.
It probably is.
If we find a torque spec, Sean will put it in the video.
Yeah, it's not happening.
What's that?
That's the paint on the bracket. Yeah.
And I'm like, and stop.
Let's check the subframe bolts with just a ratchet too. See how they feel.
It's a
There you go. There's the Explorer ST diff bracket installed, diff brace from FENFAB. Nice FENFAB logo on it. Looks good. So we got the downpipes installed from FENFAB. We got the thermal exhaust installed. We got the diff brace installed in the back. Travis just put the nice FENFAB ECU cover on. ECU cover looks great. We're going to take a little lunch break and then we're going to come back and start dealing with these intercooler pipes. All right, so we went to lunch, we came back, we readjusted the exhaust tips and then kind of just checked over all the exhaust connections and tightened them up a little bit more. I did realize this video is going to get too long, so we're going to split it into two parts. So part two, we'll start off installing the rest of these FENFAB parts and this intercooler. So check out part two for that.